It was at the height of the Cold War that communism, led by the USSR, infiltrated capitalist Bikini Bottom from the inside. In a municipal economy built entirely around fast food patronage, the Krusty Krab enjoyed a long-standing monopoly, thanks to its signature Krabby Patty secret formula, and mountains of aid from the Marshall Plan. However, all of that changed thanks to Plan Z, a plot by the Chumbucket, an undercover Molotov-backed operative, to obtain the formula from beef enrichment scientists who Mr. Krabs had laid off. This caused a state of panic within Krusty Krab headquarters. Since Krabs could no longer sustain his business in the absence of the formula, he lobbied King Neptune to impose a blockade on the soon-thriving Chumbucket. Plankton, admitted Marxist and leader of the Chumbucket, threatened war in the form of Bitcoin-funded fast food militias. Krabs would not give in, and lifted the blockade to avoid confrontation. Plankton then seduced working fish of the Bikini Bottom into eating his food, which included a free Chumbucket helmet with every purchase. 9 months after averting crisis, Krabs was fatally shot as his motorcade cruised through the city's southern section. All the while, the Chumbucket gained patronage. Plankton then enforced a blockade of his own, barring goods and people from entering or exiting the Bikini Bottom, his capital city, via the ocean surface. New Krusty Krab manager Squidward Tentacles wasn't having it. Any employee, he said, that was suspected of sympathizing with Plankton was prosecuted for treason at the guillotine.
I will extend Truman's doctrine to the sea. Forget the Iron Curtain. A rusty curtain has descended across Bikini Bottom. The evil empire must be stopped. Krabs' death will not be in vain.
And if I have anything to say about it, Plan Z is now in full effect. For the cost of handing out free bucket helmets, I have bought the people's faith in my centrally planned economy. All I have to do now is push a button. Click! All hail Plankton. All hail Plankton. Off now! I have a monument waiting to be built. As more industry fell to the Chumbucket, the city government was rendered impotent, eventually stepping down altogether. It seems Plankton had won. His business empire dissolved into a communist slave state. King Neptune and Squidward had one last hope, and allied with a pair of jackbooted thugs from a Contra group known as the Goofy Goo Bears, SpongeBob and Patrick. And with support from the US Coast Guard, this dynamic duo teamed up to defeat Plankton, whose influence had expanded across the undersea county and was slowly encircling them.
Well, here we are at the city line. Come on, Pat, let's breach this border.
You fellas sure is brave. Nobody's ever lasted too long across that county line.
Did you ever try and last?
All of 13 minutes.
Well, me and Pat, we're on our way to Shell City, Plankton's northern metropolis that borders the Pacific coast. He's taken over and frozen many of King Neptune's assets there.
And you plan to get there, driving back his Bitcoin-backed Planktonista forces?
Yes.
Ha ha ha. You Yankee shills won't last 1 second.
Please, with our Krabby Patty mobile and its artillery, Shell City will be ours by supper.
You mean that there thing?
8 months later.
Marching on foot isn't all that bad.
Yeah, look at how far we've gone. You know, the representative from the US Coast Guard who gave us that Patty mobile, she was one good looker.
Pat, don't say that.
Say what? Looker? As in, look at my fist coming at your face?
It's an ambush by Dennis the Planktonista. Run back! Run back!
Ha ha! North Planktonopolis, undefeated!
3 years later.
Well, I'll be. You lasted longer than I thought. Still didn't win nothing, though.
Pat, I don't think we can take Shell City from here.
Yeah, at least you boys had the sense to retreat.
And so, the first campaign against Plankton by the Krusty crew unofficially ended the way it started, at that dreaded city line. Squidward wouldn't budge. He started another campaign against Plankton, this time in the dark, kelp forest-covered depths of underwater Indochina.
These are impoverished kelp farming fish, boys. We got this.
Deployed on the outskirts of the front, the two boys march. Their 5 o'clock shadows have caught up with them as they descend into the abyss.
I think they're in the trees.
Fools, we have received growth hormones from Plankton.
Those boys fought hard for crabs, but the monsters were too resilient. Even with the support of US-led aqueous agent-owned strikes on kelp forests, they still only managed to further mutate the monsters. 10 years later.
This is tougher to win than I thought, but we shall not show the enemy weakness. I was thinking about bombing Cambodia, but that country has no oceanic counterpart. We shall pull out with honor. Ah! Please, no more!
Big McThankies from McSpankies.
Vietnam, undefeated! We made it, Pat. We escaped those hideous, disgusting monsters.
Not so fast.
Ah! Dennis the rice farmer?
You call that peach fuzz facial hair? This is what a real mustache looks like. Ugh! Now I've got you right where I want you. Prepare to be put in the clinic for PTSD. Ugh!
Like the last one we'll do. The Krabby Crusaders left combat in 1973 bearing nothing but shame, and now they were both POWs, locked up with John McCain in Shell City. At least they finally reached their desired destination. They wouldn't be released until Plankton's blockade fell. In their absence, a senile Squidward let King Neptune loose. The man toppled democratically elected Planktonian sympathizers all over the sea and established draconian anti-free speech policies and street violence gangs that turned once prosperous kelp fields to barren wastelands, full of executed protesters. From land, Pinochet approved. The tide of the Cold War was turning, and Plankton was clearly backed by the weaker world power. Soon, his wealth ran dry. The year is 1989. David Hasselhoff is filming the pilot episode of Baywatch when he sees that our heroes escaped the dreaded planktonic torture chamber. As Plankton's rations decreased, many of his men guarding Neptune's frozen assets dropped dead. Hasselhoff retrieved them. What were in these assets, you may ask? Simply a 1979 Stratocaster.
Boy, did you guys miss a lot. Plankton has been dead for quite some time.
Then who is there to leave the Soviets underwater block?
His computer wife Karen opened the blockade up to Western qualities inspired by Gorbachev's glasnost. You, SpongeBob, you are that Western quality. Save the people of the bottom. Splish!
Ah, it is you we were expecting.
Really?
No, you two were a complete surprise, but that's beside the point. Planktonians are starting to see through the bucket-covered lies established by my predecessor.
You're right on, I say, Mrs. Plankton. Tear down this wall, boys. I want to put the nail in the coffin.
So yeah, I'm a kid, and I'm also a goofball, and a wingnut, and a knucklehead McSpagatron!
What's going on here?
But most of all, I'm...
Hey, settle down.
I'm...
Take it easy.
I'm...
What the scallop?
I'm Goofy Goober!